This is the Twin Cities Real Estate Investing Show. Real stories, real success in Twin Cities real estate. Join your hosts, Adam Tafel and Tim Swierczek, as they dive into the world of Twin Cities real estate investing. Together, they share valuable insights and practical tips to help both new and seasoned investors navigate the Minneapolis-St. Paul market. With a focus on relatable stories from real people, this show will empower you with the knowledge and confidence to thrive in your investing journey. Guys, take it from here.
What's up, Tim?
Hey, man. How you doing today?
I'm doing well.
Yeah, me too.
We got Ford Wagner again. You know, we just interviewed this guy, but we didn't get it. This is a real estate investing show. And on the first episode with Ford, we talked about bidding out properties. We talked about flipping, but we didn't really get into any of his actual investments that he's holding. And he's obviously a great guest. You guys seem to like him, listeners. So we had him back and we're going to go through his deals.
Yeah, absolutely. This one starts off with a bang. Like, you have to listen to this. Like, his day today was crazy. He bought a house and had a SWAT raid all before recording the podcast at 10 a.m.
Yeah, so the first 20 minutes is due to SWAT raid, but then, we get into like successful BRRRR specifics. We get into contract for deed deals, category 2. Mm-hmm. What else? A ton of good stuff.
Yeah.
So
I don't think we need to say anything else. Just listen to the episode and please share it with your friends. Ford's first show was by far at least 5 times our next closest guest in terms of reach. So please share the episode and continue to like, share, and comment.
And support the sponsors. Here they are. Welcome to the Twin Cities Real Estate Investing Show, brought to you by Shook. Shook is the all-in-one platform to help you manage your rentals, built for real estate investors just like us. Shook offers lightning-fast ACH payments. I just got a few properties set up with Shook, and I'm getting paid way faster than my old service. They can also do custom things, like if you need to pay a manager a percentage, they can take care of that. The staff at Shook, Oliver, and the team are just so awesome to work with, and we want to thank Shook for sponsoring the podcast. At $5 per unit per month, it's totally worth checking out shookrentals.com to book a live demo. In the show notes, we're also offering a discount of 20%. Use the code TCREI20. Thank you. One of the hardest parts of investing is finding a solid property manager. I've worked with plenty over the years. Some are better than others. Earlier this year, I did a 10-unit deal where John and his team at RPM Viking handled the management for our mutual out-of-state client. They were professional, they were responsive, they delivered exactly as promised. Now they are my #1 management referral, and I'm proud to have them supporting the show. Learn more at rpmviking.com. Use the code TCREI300 for $300 off maintenance services when you sign up with RPM Viking as your property manager. Thanks for sponsoring the show. Investors, if a deal gets messy, call Network Title. They can handle the BRRRR, the 1031, mixed use, commercial, whatever it takes, so you can close on time. Mentor of mine, guy who I really respect, Kirk Duckwall, says, working with Network Title is kind of like having another personal assistant. That's how on the ball these people are. Network Title, complex deals made simple. Link in the show notes.
From other landlords of, I don't know, I don't really want to super expose the situation, but.
Well, we are recording, so why don't you expose what you feel comfortable with? What's going on, Ford?
Oh, it's been a ride here on January 8th of 2026, a great start to the year. Had a very eventful morning, woke up, we were up early because I had a lot of stuff going on this morning, but at about 6:30 I get a text or a Facebook message from the neighbor of one of my rental properties that I had just turned that unit, right? I have new tenants. They've been in there maybe 3 weeks, 4 weeks. And he said, who in God's name did you move into this property? The house is getting raided by SWAT right now. And I'm like, what? Now, landlords, investors, you guys listen to this. Maybe you've dealt with this. I've never dealt with anything like this at all. So that was kind of alarming at 6:30 this morning, right? And, if you're listening to this, as soon as it gets released, there's a lot of stuff going on in Minnesota right now. So my mind's going 100 different places. Do I have ICE at the door? Do I have the feds at the door? Is it the local SWAT team I don't know. Right? I don't know, right? So I text them back. I'm like, I know that there shouldn't be immigration issues, so I don't think it's ICE, but I'll be there as soon as I can. And I was up in Blaine, just left Home Depot, and raced down to North St. Paul, and that's where the property is. And I'm expecting to get there to a kicked-in door and a vacant house, right? So I'm still texting the neighbor back and forth as I'm flying down 35 or whatever.
But not while you're driving, right?
No, I pulled over.
You pull over.
So he goes, yeah, I don't know, dude. I don't have a lot of answers, but I just know there was, Bearcats and all these trucks and people in all this tactical gear. They were fully armed. I'm like, okay, great. So whatever, I get there. And the street's empty, right? But the lights are on in the house. So I go up, knock on the door. Who is it? Ford, your landlord, please open the door. And I open the door. She's absolutely distraught. And, 4 kids under 5 all sitting in the living room. But the whole house is turned upside down. Couch is turned upside down. I would almost swore. Stuff thrown everywhere around the floor, right? And I said, what's going on? She goes, yeah, I don't know. The cops were just here. They busted in. They did this, that, and the other thing. And I said, yeah, I got a call from the neighbor. I'm just I wanted to make sure you were still here because according to him, everybody got arrested. And, yeah, I don't know. And I'm kind of confused at this point too, because they just moved in. So whether they did something or not, I don't even know how the government tied them back to this address, right? Yes, they are on a subsidy.
Because they didn't have time to change.
Yeah, it's
IDs
such a quick
stuff.
turn. So really in my head, I'm thinking the previous tenants maybe did something and they were trying to get my previous tenants, who are actually my employees. So now I'm really concerned, right? So, but I'm asking her, why were they here? She goes, I have no idea. Who was it? I have no idea. She goes, I just know it was police or SWAT, and they raided the house. All they told us is they had a search warrant to be here. And I said, but they didn't tell you what they were looking for? And she goes, no, they didn't tell us anything. They just put us all in the cop car. And then as soon as I explained to them that we just moved here, we have no idea who you're looking for or why you're here, they let us go, right? So I'm like, because then the neighbor was texting me too. He said, there's some other guy who's been hanging out around the house, right? And so I asked her, is there anybody else that's been living here? She says, nope. And I said, you're sure there's nobody else that's been living here? A boyfriend, husband, best friend, whatever. No. And, I can't have anybody living here, otherwise I'll lose my subsidy.
Okay.
And this is where I don't know if I want to have, because I don't want to get her in trouble, right? But, yeah. And I'll just keep talking. I'll lose my subsidy. And so I'm like, okay, I just need to know what happened. It's kind of concerning to me as a landlord that my door was just
busted,
drilled through at whatever time it was this morning. That's kind of a problem, right? So I just need to know the truth and we'll all be good, right? So just tell me what happened. Yeah, I don't know what happened. I said, okay, whatever. But everything here's fine. Your kids are fine. Is there any damage? No, whatever. I said, okay, I'm leaving. If anything else happens, let me know. I drive off. And then about an hour later, I get a call. Because then at that point, I'm like, I still don't know who was there.
Yeah, you don't even know what agency or anything.
Yeah,
right?
She gave me a spotty answer, kind of beating around the bush in a sense. And once again, I don't know if it was maybe ICE. I don't know if it was, the North St. Paul Police Department, the St. Paul Police Department, if it was some other, I don't know.
I have a very good friend who used to run their SWAT team in North St. Paul specifically.
Oh, really? So that was another question. Does North St. Paul even have a SWAT team? Apparently,
yeah, they do. Yeah, he's a real estate investor, and actually, I keep teasing he'll be on the pod someday. Yeah, he listens to each one. So, shout out.
It's not Dahl.
Shout out, Dustin.
Okay, because Mike Dahl, mutual client, is also but he's south. Whatever.
Okay. Anyway, so they do have one.
You almost wish that it's ICE, right? Because if it's the regular cops, then you have a drug dealer or somebody on your hands. I'd rather have a illegal immigrant than a drug dealer, personally.
I don't know. Yeah.
I've only I was just about to say I've only had the drug dealer, but I've actually had both.
I had one right when Trump got into office. I had a tenant get swiped too by ICE. But I was like first on the board. That was a year and a half ago, right? Before you returned mad. But to your point, like whatever agency it is, but I had so much stuff going through my head. Okay, if these people actually got taken, where's landlord law? I probably need to call it. What happens to all their stuff? What happens to the lease? If they're going to prison, I don't even know, right?
Well, you're going to need an attorney to get very specific, but generally speaking, I can tell you this: you have to store their stuff, right?
Yeah.
First of all, you have to get them officially evicted. So you do have to go through that process, even if they're in jail. Sure. It's a really easy one. There are laws that if that you can evict someone for, I don't even think it's like for being imprisoned. I think it can just be for illegal activity, right? And it goes down to the drug-free, crime-free addendum stuff. But you don't even have to have that because there are sections. From reading the landlord-tenant law book, there are sections where you can evict for that reason alone.
Right.
And if they're not there and they can't pay, there's no reason for them to occupy, right?
Yeah.
But you have to go through that process. Then after you go through the process, you have to hold their gear. Do you remember, is it 21 days or 30 days?
It's close to a month total.
It's about a month, yeah, but I couldn't remember exactly. Anyway, you have to store it. You can store it on site or you can store it like in an off-site location, but they have to be able to come retrieve it. Right. And you have to give them some notices, right? And like, hey, I've got all your stuff. And you could, what do you want me to do with it?
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
Are they good tenants otherwise, or it's too soon to really tell?
Well, it's too soon to tell. And, I mean, there's a whole different story with this tenant and how they even got placed in this house. But
sounds like a January tenant.
Yeah.
Or December tenant.
Yeah. The midwinter play where you weren't really even expecting to lease the place up. I was expecting to sit on until spring to really get it occupied just with seasonality and lease ups, right? But... moral of the story, she calls me back like an hour later and she's still distraught, and I don't know, what time is it now? Yeah, so this is still just like an hour and a half ago. She goes, hey, is there an attic in the house? I said, what do you mean? She goes, is there an attic? I said, yeah, there's an attic. Why? She goes, well, I think the hatch is open. And I said, okay. She goes, well, can you come over and close it? And I'm like, yeah, I'm sure the SWAT team was up there looking for somebody or something. I don't know. So I'm like, but are you sure and she goes, I'm just really concerned this is going to affect me and I'm going to lose my Section 8 over this. Is this going to affect me? Am I going to lose my subsidy? I said, I don't know what's going to happen. I'm not going to go out of my way to harm you, but I need to know the truth of what happened, right? And I'm going to figure it out. Like, I'm just a nosy person, whether I need to know or not.
And I'm going to call the cops if you don't tell me. I got to find out what's going on, right?
Exactly. That's kind of a big deal. So I've already called North St. Paul, or I was waiting on a call back from North St. Paul Police Department for the sergeant to call me back. But that was after I had talked to her. And I said, so is there anything else you want to tell me? She goes, yeah, it was my ex-boyfriend. He was at the house. And they did arrest him this morning. And I said, okay, what's his full legal name, right? Yeah. And I got that from her. And I said, and why'd they arrest him? Why'd they have a search warrant? She goes, I don't know. I think he had a bunch of felony warrants for stealing cars, right? Well, so whatever. I get off the phone. I say, I don't know what's going to happen. Like I said, I don't plan on wrecking your life with your subsidy issues, but if something else comes up, I can't control that. So
sure,
because she's worried about having that occupant in the house, right? And I don't know how that works, but so then whatever, North St. Paul calls me back, or the sergeant calls me, and he goes, basically, I described him what happened, verify who I am. He goes, well, I can tell you something did happen. Our department had nothing to do with it. We got notified by the St. Paul police early this morning that they were coming in to do a raid, and past that, they didn't need any help. So if you want to learn more, you got to call St. Paul police. So I call St. Paul police, talk to the lady up front or whatever. Sergeant calls me back 20 minutes later, and they basically say, yep, we were at the house, we did a raid, it's an ongoing investigation, we can't tell you any more than that. I said, well, can you at least verify the name so I know if my tenant's telling me the truth of who was there? She goes, yep, well, the name checked out. And then I said, is there anybody else still maybe in that house that might be a part of whatever happened that I should be concerned about? Because I still have people living there, right? And I want to know if the tenant is part of the problem too. She goes, nope, it's an isolated issue.
I would think they would arrest the tenant if they were, right? That would be my first guess. But
and that's how
I could see why you wanted to know.
Right, because, I mean, as much as we do our background checks and stuff, there's errors, or errors can happen.
Well, and this brings up a really good point. I'm going to wait till you're done, but actually I do have some comments on this. Go ahead.
So, and then I just asked her too, were any of these crimes committed at the house, or was it all outside of the house? She goes, no, it was all in the inner city of St. Paul of crimes that were committed that the investigation's happening with. So, whatever, that kind of ended that and kind of verified the who, what, when, where, why. But really my question in all of this, because I have this actually happening at another property right now, we're all landlords. We know how to vet tenants. We know how to market, bring them in, whatever. But how have you guys or anybody listening, like this single mother comes in, she fills in her application. If I'm like trying to draw a storyline in my head of what happened, she fills in the application. They know the boyfriend's coming, but if the boyfriend ever shows up to the walkthrough or the application, that dude's failing the application right away and they'll never get approved. So she comes in alone, gets approved, moved in, and then he comes in a few days later, moves in, and I have no idea he's actually there. Meanwhile, that's a problem.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
The prime example of what happened this morning. So, but I just don't know. There's no really good way to check, verify.
You can't verify, but there are things you can do. Yeah. And I'm going to start at the beginning because about 24 years ago or so, 22 years ago, I took a class in Minneapolis, how to be a landlord from the Minneapolis Police Department. And they brought this up. So just so you know, just so everyone's clear, drug dealers and pimps do not secure housing. Their girlfriends do, right? That's how they get in. Mm-hmm. So you have to have policies that can help you in this case. You wouldn't have stopped this guy from getting in because you don't know who's doing it and who's not. But the way you protect yourself is your leases should always say no overnight guests allowed. Okay. And a lot of people think, whoa, I would never do that. It's just not a problem. Actually, it is. And I've had it be two situations where I needed to use this clause. And they were both because someone was doing something unethical and illegal. It had nothing to do with you just having your cousin over or even just a regular boyfriend, girlfriend. It's always someone who's a criminal who's getting in because someone else signed on a lease, right? Mm-hmm. The situation you have basically, right? Yeah. And so if you allow no overnight guests, what we tell people, and this is true, we don't actually go and check if someone has an overnight guest. But if that overnight guest causes a problem to where we're aware of it, they're going to have a problem and they could potentially get evicted over it. And the guest is certainly going to be left. And where this really helps the most is if you've got duplexes or multi-unit buildings. And the easiest way to do this is if you have a female guest and you say, look, it might not be you, but what if the boyfriend of your neighbor starts harassing you, right? There is nothing I can do without this clause to stop that boyfriend from harassing you. Yeah. Because they're going to say, well, he's just an overnight guest and he's only been here a week and they can be here 2 weeks a month. That's not acceptable. You can never gauge how many weeks have they been there, how many days. Right. It doesn't work. It has to be 0 days.
That's a good point.
And you just only enforce it if the guest causes a problem.
Right.
And we've had to enforce 2.
And probably just communicating up front, with anyone. You don't want to discriminate. Oh, you seem like you might be sneaking in a drug dealer. But just tell everyone how strict you are on this policy. And then if they're in the back of their mind, oh, actually, my boyfriend's with me, they're going to, maybe I don't rent from this guy. Because he seems like he's kind of hardcore when it comes to this sort of thing.
That's exactly
Most things come down to communication.
This is the guy who's going to actually be on it, right? Yeah. The other thing that you can do to really strengthen this a little more is our lease specifically says that our tenants are responsible for their guests' behavior. And that's not the exact wording, right? Yeah. But it essentially says that if a guest does something or doesn't do something, meaning because you don't want to leave that they can be responsible for any basically consequence of a guest, they're responsible for it. And that can include just so many different things, loud noises, harassing. We had to tow a guest car because this guest who was harassing the female from another unit also happened to be a drug dealer, right? This is the same guy. And he was parking in their spot, and then he was yelling at them, and then he was doing things to their car when they would park in their spot. So he just stole their spot basically, right? Their parking spot, things like that, right? Just all kinds of little stuff like that. And we were able to, I had this guy out in in a month. Yeah. So
what else are you doing, Tim? Fraud is prevalent in, what was it, 50% of applications now? What's the stat?
It's getting really bad, but we're catching a lot of it up front because we're just like, there's the red flags that we talked about a lot with Section 8. Most of my problems in all of this have been like Section 8 people lying on applications. It's the biggest thing, but they're so bad at lying that we catch them really easily. You know, they're blatant lies that it's super easy to catch. So that's how we're weeding a lot of it out. And I would say you cannot bend on that issue. We've had a couple where we're like, God damn, did they have to lie? We wanted to rent to this person, but they lied. And I'm like, no, we got to do it, because if we ever go to court, I want to be able to say, if you lie in an application, we don't rent to you, right? And we've hold that firm line, and we kept all the proof. So if we ever have to go to court, which I recommend, but that's how you catch it, is you catch them in a little lie, because the people who are doing these things, they're not just doing one thing. You know, they're not like really good people who are just lying about one thing. They're lying about their whole lives. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm.
And I can speak a lot on this too, but because it's become very common in my screening seeing this, right? But to your point, they're going to sell you the pipe dream of the most perfect tenant. In my experience, the most perfect tenant I could ever ask for, right? Mm-hmm. They want to stay a long time. They hate having people over. They're the cleanest person you've ever met. They don't even have a car. They just stay in their house and work from home.
Every Christmas they bring cookies to their landlord.
Yeah, right. They're going to cook you dinner twice a week. But it really just seems like I've really started having problems with fraud on applications really within the last maybe 6 to 12 months.
Yeah, like 2 years for us, yeah.
And one thing with me, and I don't know who you guys use for your screening or what software. I use
Shook Rentals.
I use
sponsor.
So I actually just switched over to Shook with Oliver. That guy's awesome.
Sweet.
Yeah. But I haven't had them do they do screening? Is that part of their platform?
So. Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
I haven't had to do that with them yet, but
I haven't either.
They do screening, and I'm working with them. They're working with instituting my screening process, actually. So I don't use them yet, but I showed them everything that I do and what I like and what I need to be able to switch over, and they're working on it.
Yeah, they're good at kind of tailoring things to you, which is like good luck finding another software that'll do that. They're doing like management splits for me, which is something that wasn't a thing before. With direct deposits. There's a couple clients who I help out with management.
Oh, sure.
And so take a 10% split. But anyways.
Yeah.
Screening.
The screening, right? Fraud. So I use tenantbackgroundsearch.com. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of it. Doesn't matter. But they, did that just goof us up?
No, we're good.
Okay. They'll come back and give you the initial report, right? And do all the standard checks. I'm sure every website does. But like taking that a step further and actually looking them up in the Minnesota court records, like do your own due diligence a little bit, right?
You have to do that.
Look them up in the court records. It's very easy to do. And then really when you're calling for references, I've charted this because I almost got really burned on a fraud tenant, right?
This is where you catch them in the lies.
Yeah.
Right? In the reference sections and stuff, yeah.
The references or just, everything about
everything. Yeah, they're usually lying about multiple things. Right. Yes, that's correct.
But getting the references from the past landlords, but when you call them, don't say, hey, I'm calling about Adam Tafel at, whatever. You just gave away all your tokens right there, right, to the quote-unquote previous landlord. I call and I almost say, hi, are you a landlord? And I'm trying to get a hold of maybe XYZ. Are you a landlord in St. Paul? Yes, I am. Why do you ask? Where's your property owned? Well, I own several. Okay, do you own a property on Rose Avenue? Yeah. What's the house number? So you really want to verify, or I do it, that I'm actually talking to the landlord, not talking to the tenant's sister.
Yes.
Who's been coached up waiting for this phone call, right?
Yeah.
And then I get deeper into it once I know I'm absolutely talking to the right person. So did you catch
someone recently on?
Yeah, on that, where the first person I called was her sister or something, right? And this was months ago, so I forget exactly how it went down. But they were ready for the call, and they had the line of BS all scripted up, ready to go for how to talk to me. And it just didn't quite add up because she was missing some of the details that I already knew. And then
you could say, when did you buy the place? And just look at the tax records.
Yeah.
It'd be an easy one. Or throw like a red herring property out there. Hey, do you own a place on blah, blah, blah road? Not even the right property. That could work. And then be like, yeah, I do. Gotcha.
You ask? So that's like another thing I've just done, right? Like just taking it a couple steps further to really catch these people in their BS.
I like the asking the street name but not giving the number and seeing if they can confirm it. Some things like that I like that. We've run into all this stuff, and yeah, it is on the up. And I think part of it is we used to be able to deny just based on credit score. Like, look, you've got a 500 credit score, you're going to have to go deal with the slumlord, right? And that's really how the world should work, like, but
my loans work.
Since Minneapolis doesn't allow that anymore, right? We have to deal with these people, so we have to catch them in other lies, is what it comes down to. And not all of them lie. I won't say that, but like, man, it's few and far between in the Section 8 world that don't. It's been really crazy to me how many problems we've had screening people and how many we've had to turn down for reasons that, like, we wouldn't have turned them down if they would have just told us the truth, or we might have given them a chance.
Right.
But they didn't even get to that point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like you said, they lie about one thing. And
Can we shift gears for a sec, Ford?
Sure.
You said you bought a property today. Mm-hmm. You want to talk about it?
Yeah, so it'll be on my Instagram later.
Which is?
Before this comes out, yeah, what's your Instagram?
Ford, Ford, just like the truck, _ Wagner. Ford _ Wagner.
Cool.
I try and post on there as much as I can about all the projects we have going on. The property I bought this morning,
Yeah.
single family.
Okay.
Are you pulling it up?
Yeah, is that okay?
Yep, 612 Newton Avenue North.
It's right outside of downtown, or what?
Yep, so it's actually the first house on Newton off of Olson Memorial, right on the corner.
Got it.
Newton Avenue North?
NEWTON.
Got it here. Yeah, right off of 55. Mm-hmm. And it looks like there's no MLS history. So you bought this off market?
Yep.
Where'd you find
it?
it?
A wholesaler.
Nice.
Yep, bought it off a wholesaler who I actually bought. This is a unique deal, right? I bought 2 houses off them. They're both literally the exact same house. Same year build, same bed,
areas, yeah.
bath, square footage, everything.
Is this like a post-2000s build?
Yeah, 2003.
Nice.
So if you want to get into locations to kind of talk about several things at once right
Let's
here.
do it.
Yeah.
I was always a St. Paul guy. Always have been a St. Paul guy. And not because I hate Minneapolis. It's just I just know St. Paul, right?
Same.
I know the east side and Dayton's block. I know St. Paul like the back of my hand. I just don't know Minneapolis. So I always steered away from Minneapolis, just never went over there to do anything, right? So
It's cutting out a variable like that. It's actually just totally makes great business sense to not introduce a new variable when you don't need to. Now you've done enough deals where you've done other areas, but yeah,
kind of get to know it and whatnot. And so what made me make the jump over the river, these 2 popped up in North Minneapolis, and I'm like, okay, if I'm going to go over here and do this, well, these are probably 2 good houses to start on. They were built in 2003. At least I'm dealing with a newer construction home, high bedroom count, great Section 8 rate.
so these are keepers.
Yes, I'm actually burning both of these right now.
Okay.
So just about done with the first one. I think I closed on that 2 or 3 weeks ago. And then this one had tenants that had to vacate, so this one took a little longer to close. But
Can we break down the numbers on, maybe we talk about not the one today, but the one you've already closed on? And again, if there's anything you don't want to share, I'll just cut it.
Sure.
But what was the purchase price on that one?
$185.
Okay. And then do you remember what your renovation
Yep.
budget was?
It was 15.
Okay.
It
Wow.
was.
How much did you spend on
Turn
renovation?
into 45.
No, it wasn't that bad. And
I'm
it was just, we didn't go too far over. I think it's going to end up probably less than $2,000 over. It's just because some stuff I wasn't originally planning on doing, we just decided to do.
So maybe 20 grand with holding costs, approximately.
Yeah, withholding costs. That doesn't really include my closing costs and,
Sure.
and that jazz. But so what, 185, I figured I'd be into it for 210, and I think I'll get a 275 appraisal out of it.
Okay. And then do you have a 75 LTV on the refi?
Yeah, 80 is what I
really?
got on my last one.
Nice.
Commercial lending.
Yep, 25-year AM.
Yep.
So folks at
Trying to think of my
home,
rate.
multiply your loan to value ratio by your ARV. So we're doing 275 times 0.8. He needs, if he's 220 into it, which it sounds like you are, it looks like you might be leaving like $5 to $7 grand in the deal. And then you can probably wrap refi closing costs into the mortgage. I would assume.
210 to 220. So it'll be either I'm get a little back or I leave a little in. Depends on where the
Yeah, no. I'm looking at that incorrectly. 185. Yeah, so you'll probably end up with a few bucks extra.
Yeah.
Cool.
So that one will be slick. And it should make some pretty good money, right?
Is it high bedroom count? How many bedrooms?
6 bedrooms.
Okay.
2 bath. Section 8 on that is their rental limit is $3,300. I didn't underwrite it to get all of it. But I underwrote it at like 31 or 32.
Yeah, because what they'll do is that for those who don't know, and this might be remedial for some people, but for those who don't know, when they say 3,300, that's assuming you're paying every utility, and then they'll deduct for the utilities off of that amount. Yeah. And someone brought up a good point. I think it even came up on the thing recently. Yeah, Bruce Brunner, when he did his, brought up this point that they raised all the rents, but then they increase the amount that they deduct for utilities, so it essentially is the same. Like there was no rental increase this year for that. I think that was Minneapolis, but it probably was the same for St. Paul.
Yeah.
What do you expect your PITI to be after the refi? I would think you'd be under 2,000 or 2,000-ish. And I'm doing I can do the math right now.
The loan itself is going to be $1,400 roughly, if you're thereabouts, $1,400 to $1,500.
Probably 2,000 insurance, 4,000 taxes.
No, taxes were
less than that.
Yeah, low 3s.
Okay.
And actually, I'll put the whole caveat in here right now. It is in 4D right now.
Okay.
So taxes are actually only $700.
Yeah.
But I'm limited to $2,780. You guys probably know about.
It's not a problem.
Yeah, that's fine.
You're doing Section
golden,
8,
dude.
right?
Yeah. So I can skip over.
It'll not affect you in the lease. So that's the thing that most people don't understand. Ford will have an extremely hard time renting that out to anyone who's not on Section 8 or an equivalent program, right? There's other programs other than Section 8. And here's the reason. For them to be able to afford the rent, they'll make too much to be able to qualify for this 4D program. But in Section 8, those people, you go for what they make. And what they make is 30% of the rent or what they're allowed to pay even. Mm-hmm. So even someone who's a high income earner in that area probably doesn't make more than 30-some thousand a year. And chances are they make less than that. And so you're never going to have a problem. Yeah.
So I did some basic math. Tim, you're spot on with the principal and interest payment. You should be looking at under $1,800 a month post refi. I'm using the $700. I'm using 25-year amortization at 7% interest.
Yeah,
should be about there. Yeah. So that's a win, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, without accounting for reserves and all that jazz, we can get into that. But I don't know, it would seem it was over. What does that make it be? Like $1,200 a month. Call it $1,000 by the time you.
Yeah, because you'll
pay for a new door every month.
A new door.
Well,
and you probably have some utilities you have to pay, right?
You're capped at $2,700.
Water. Yeah.
Water. Yeah. Oh yeah, with the 27.
You'll make like $500. Well, and then you pay utilities. You'll make a couple $100 a month.
Why is it
for
capped
sure.
at $2,700?
I thought that's what you said with the 40.
That's the 40 limit. But if I do Section 8, it's 33 is what you can have. But by the time you beat it down, it ends up being 3,100.
Oh, 4D also caps. I thought 4D only capped the income that they made. It caps the actual rent.
It caps the rent I charge too. But from what I understand, talking to the people that sold to me that put it in this program, and somebody comment if I'm completely wrong on this, but I can basically say I don't want to be a part of this anymore. Go charge Section 8 at 3,100, and they'll just exit me out of the program and put my taxes back to normal.
I don't think 4D allows you to do that. I think it's a commitment from the property for 10 years.
And I don't disagree with you because I've read the covenant.
Well, Bruce said something about this. I don't remember the details, so I don't want to speak because I might be incorrect. But I thought there was a way you could get out of it, but you paid a penalty.
Oh,
like you paid back. Like I think that's what it is. So you can do it, but like if it's been in the program for 4 years, you have to pay the 4 years of the taxes. Yeah. So let's say you save $3,000 a year, you'd be paying $12,000 to get out of the program. Which, if you're selling, might be worth it. If you're renting, I can't imagine that you'll make up the difference.
Recapture the difference.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just a math problem. I'm not really worried about it because really what I end up saving in taxes ends up really being a wash of what I could charge more by paying full tax rate.
Which also makes it then easier to rent.
Yeah.
That's an interesting place. So for anyone who hasn't had, I haven't had exactly 6 bedrooms, so I won't speak to that exactly, but I've had 5 bedrooms, and I can tell you this. you'll be the only game in town with 6 bedrooms. When you put it up, there's not going to be competition.
Yeah.
But you are going to be churning through a lot of people. I think it feels like they're hard to rent, but you get a lot of interest.
Right.
Including even this time of the year, because if someone needs 6 bedrooms, Ford's going to be the only person in town
With 2 of them.
with 2 of them. Yeah, there you go.
Can you tell us about the scope of work? Like when you're walking through this home, what do you spend in 17 grand on?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I'll do that. My final analysis on it was
Sorry.
You don't want to
I
talk
need
about
a second. Hold on, I'm going to...
Take your time, dude. Do you have enough? You want water or something?
No, I just need to...
Tim had the worst cough for like the first year of the podcast.
It was.
To the point
Turns
where
out
I
had
bought a button.
Yeah.
For like
Turns
our
out I
Tim
had
cough button.
bronchitis.
just a silent.
Do you remember I told you that when we were
Yeah.
in? I didn't realize until after I took steroids I started feeling wonderful again. But I was super. Yeah. Anyway.
My final analysis to wrap up the last piece was I think it'll cash flow between $1,000 and $1,200 a month. Right. To me, that's a grand slam worth going out and dealing with that part of town. Now, what did I do the renovation on? It got flooring, paint. We painted all the walls, painted the ceiling, painted all the trim, replaced a couple doors. Just about any project I do, whether we're flipping it or keeping it, for the price of what it costs, I always replace all the electrical devices and fixtures.
Devices, you're talking like switches?
Yeah. Switches and outlets. I mean, I just think it looks good, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
I agree with you because a lot of the older landlord stuff, and this one isn't old, but they've been painted over. They've got paint on them. They've got grime and dirt all in them, and they also look old, right? Like if you
They're
go to
almond.
yeah,
they're
I don't know
almond
why
and
do they
have
even
this-
sell that almond. Sorry if you have
It was
in your
a
house.
thing for a
Like,
while.
that's so ugly.
Yeah. So I'm 100% with you. We like to do that too. And then I've started to find some contractors that like to charge by the job or whatever. And they'll like, instead of charging all of them for like $200, they're like, it's $10 a piece. I'm like, it ain't fucking $10 a piece. Yeah. But that's how you were talking about, like on the last podcast, if you don't have the right contractors, you can't hardly even be an investor,
So you're walking through the property. It needs flooring. It needs paint. Is there anything? Because people are listening at home and they're thinking, I want to do this. I want to BRRRR. It seems really simple. Here's the math. You got to have some cojones, right? But like, was there anything about it that was turning off other buyers? Was there anything about this deal that was perhaps like a risk, which allowed you to get it down at a good price? Or is it simply like your relationship with the wholesaler? And is 185 just the market price for a place that only needs paint and flooring in that neighborhood?
It was certainly a good deal, and I even paid the wholesaler a pretty handsome fee. It was more who that seller actually was and their situation. I'm not going to get into that, but that had a lot to do with it. The wholesaler I have an awesome relationship with, have for a long time. So I got first dibs on it, and I just took a second one from him right away. So he made, a good chunk of change right during the holidays, and he was happy with it. Nothing really turned me off about it, right? I mean, I just saw it, ran the numbers. You do enough of these, you can do the napkin math in 45 seconds and know if it's a deal or not. And then just, I can get my guys in and out of here other than waiting on a special order of windows. It's a 2-week project and out on to the next one.
It's helpful that you could do it for like 17 grand. I would think that even Adam and I would be looking at 25 if you paid 17, or maybe 22, right? Like
Totally.
Yeah.
Like you can nail it that way, which really helps.
And that's just to that. I mean, that was a lot of our last podcast, right? I mean, that's just contractors, you're having that conversation, how many houses they're doing for you, your systems and just dialing everything in to really get your price points dialed in. But that's not to say a new investor can't do it, right? So
Sure.
But did anything turn me off of the property other than the area? No. But once
Does
again,
it have parking? Because over
no
there,
garage.
No
There
garage.
is a parking pad in the back.
There's a parking pad. Okay.
Yeah.
I would think you'd want off-street parking right there. Is my guess. I haven't obviously seen the property, but
Yeah, I mean, the street's loaded with people or cars every time I'm there.
okay. So you can
Yeah,
walk
there's
down the
on-street
street.
parking for sure. That address is 2934 Aldrich Avenue North. So I think that kind of closes out that one. And then
Totally.
it was just, today, in the midst of dealing with the St. Paul police sergeant, I was getting my guys going on this other one on Newton, which that was really easy because I'm doing a little bit more here, but I already had all my inventory of, outlets, switches, how much paint did we use, what are the measurements of all the other thing we did. It's all electric, the house. There's no gas. So it's all electric baseboard heat. And something an old fellow told me who's done this for a long time, right? He said, just take care of your big stuff on the front side, right? You already have your bank financing giving you the money, not giving you the money for it, but it's not coming out of pocket in 6 months when it breaks down, right? So just to walk in, I replaced all the baseboard throughout it, so I just know that's not going to be a problem should not be a problem for the life of ownership, water heaters, stuff like that. So I haven't really been doing that on rentals and stuff, but I'm definitely going to try and start integrating that more.
For those of you who don't know this math, it's good to know. And it changes based on the loan type you have. But with Ford's loan type, I use $7 per thousand. Because he's on a 25-year AM at 7%, his financing should have cost him about $7 for every thousand he financed. So when you asked how much it was going to be, I knew the loan would be about $200,000, about $1,400. But why is that important to know? So many different levels. One of them is this. Ford knows that if he has to replace a water heater, that's $7 a month now instead of $1,000 out of his pocket later. If he has to replace the furnace, that's $28 to $35 a month instead of $4,000 to $5,000 later, right? Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So when you had a dishwasher, for example, the house doesn't have a dishwasher, and it probably costs. I haven't done the math in a while, but I guess today's dollars, $1,500 to $2,000 to add a dishwasher that doesn't exist. Electrical, plumbing, dishwasher, moving cabinets, new countertop, right? That means it's going to cost you $14 a month to have that dishwasher. Is it worth $14 a month? You might not get $14 more a month in rental, but it's a lot easier to find a tenant with that, right? So this is how you can do math in your head real quickly and make decisions very fast. It's really helpful if you finance them. I wouldn't really recommend putting a dishwasher in if you have to pay $2,000 cash, the same way I would as if you have to pay $14 a month.
Right.
And it's not the lack of cash flow. We've talked about this a million times on the show. It's not the lack of cash flow that's going to kill the deal. You're out there hustling all day long, making money in other ways, flipping homes. So giving up it, but it's like capital expenses. Oh, I replaced 4 furnaces this winter. Mm-hmm. That's what's going to
they
cause
eat you
pain.
alive, and they'll eat up your cash flow, down the road versus just taking care of it on the front, building that into your loan, and just knowing.
Yeah.
Your cash flow is one piece, and your mental sanity is another.
Yeah.
Right? Because just getting that call, you're like, here's another one. Here we go. Right?
Yeah. And I mean, those are emergencies, like a furnace in particular, right? We did a furnace this last spring because we were able to limp it through, but it was in bad condition last time. We had to have it fixed. We knew we had to do it this year. But that ruins that was $5,000, or I think we paid less because it was, like we had a deal, right? But
Cash, no permits.
What?
No comment.
I have no idea what you just said. But
Just kidding.
But it does. It basically takes your cash flow for the year for most people. We've owned this one for long enough that it didn't, but man, did it take a lot of it, right? I mean, it was still a healthy chunk of our profit for the year for that one item. Now, we've owned that one since 2009, so this is not a situation where it was one of those we let it go or anything.
Yeah.
It lasted 15 or more years.
It was just the life
16,
cycle.
17 years.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, we shouldn't have replaced it then, but we had to now.
And
Well, go ahead.
well, I was just and that too. We can talk about my first BRRRR I did, this triplex, right? The only thing I didn't touch in that whole freaking house was the boiler because I was told it was okay, right? Lo and behold, 2 weeks after I fully load up the building, that boiler pops, pipe goes, floods out the basement. So now not only am I replacing a $5,000 boiler on a Sunday night at 9 o'clock, trying to get dehumidifiers and all that stuff into the house, I'm putting up the tenants in a hotel for the next couple of days. Yeah. So it's more than just the $5,000 boiler. You're dealing with pissed off tenants. You're dealing with the expense of putting them in a hotel for a couple of days because their basement's unlivable, right? Ripping out flooring. So sometimes it's more than just the utility itself.
Is. I always just caution people, like, I'm 100% on board with this logic, but I do caution people. I see some people come in and it's like they want to fix the world. Mm-hmm. Like the windows might be, let's say, average but not good, and they want to replace all the windows, and I'm like, you're just not going to see the return on that, and you're going to get another decade out of these windows. So so I do think it matters a little bit to like having some level of like don't do everything, but I agree if you think the furnace is on its last legs or within just a few years, then maybe you do it, especially if you don't have the cash, right? And everyone's situations can be different.
It's the same but different analysis of flipping a house too, right? Like where does this unit need to be at to get what we need in rent, right? We don't need to be the best Class A apartment on the block, new construction style, but we don't want to be the worst building on the block. We want to be somewhere kind of in that mid to upper tier. We want to be in the 80th percentile, right?
Look at your rental comps and don't over renovate.
Yeah. Well, to that point, I usually like to use the bear in the woods analogy, right? We don't have to be the best place out there, but we have to be better than the other landlords, right? So you don't have to be faster than the bear, just faster than your friend, right? Same thing. You don't have to be faster than all the other landlords. You don't have to be the A-class property, but you have to be high enough on that rung that when S hits the fan in the rental market, that your unit priced low end will steal all the other landlords' business. They'll go out of business and you'll stay in business, right?
Right. And there's enough, I use the word slumlord very lightly, but there's enough bad landlords in this market to where you can stand out fairly easily, right?
Sure,
it's not that too hard to be to stand out.
I agree. It's actually, it's gotten harder than it used to be. I think a lot of the younger people have come in, they like have over remodeled compared to what it used to be when I started. There used to be a lot more people just like shoestringing it with duct tape when I first started in the business. Right. And now you got a lot of places where we used to claim we're the nicest place in Northeast kind of deal, like, or, in our little niche. Now it's not even close. We're definitely very middle tier because some people are putting in some really stellar, cool looking stuff, and, but yes, it's still not that hard to stand out.
Right.
Photos are getting better.
Yeah.
It used to be pretty rare to find an independent landlord using a professional photographer. And now I think it's pretty, I don't know, probably at least 50% are.
Yeah.
Okay, hey, can we go through a deal where I can readily find like befores and afters using the MLS or a Google search, or is that not possible?
I can send you a drive.
That's all right.
Everything I buy, I can count on, I think, 2 properties I've ever bought off the MLS.
Sure. Well, that's fine. You want to talk about your triplex?
Yeah, we can talk the triplex. Let me just do the I want to do the numbers on the one I bought today because they're way better than the.
Oh yeah,
they're way better. Oh, all right.
All right, go ahead.
Now the comps will tell you it's worth $325. I don't know because of where it's literally at on the block. It's the first one next to Olson Memorial.
With no garage.
That absolutely affects value.
Yeah, that's what it appraised out at. That was my appraisal. That the lender did. But I paid $187.5 for that. So the appraisal I got back was $50K higher, but I only paid $2,500 more for the property. I'm going to put probably an additional $10K in the rehab. So my spread itself is a lot healthier, and that one I should no doubt get cash back if you want to do the.
Yeah, so you'll be looking at
10% is $32.5, right? So you're at $260.
$260 back.
You get a check for $260.
So, and then a $187.5 plus I'll probably do a $25K rehab. So that
$115. So you got like 45 grand in your pocket, maybe.
Yeah,
maybe 40.
And then take your carry in that BSL. So there's another 10 grand. But yeah, $30K check, right? So that one's a home run deal.
And there's a difference between appraised and market value. I'm working on a house right now, and I'm going to finish the basement, and I'm banking on to do my full BRRRR of $450 appraisal. I could not sell this house for $450,
right.
Not at all. But appraisers don't spend a ton of time. They don't completely understand market value. And so if the data overwhelmingly points to a certain price point, but yet there's something about the house, like you being right on the highway, having no garage, I doubt you'd get $325. Play that to your advantage as an investor,
And it's there's a pro, and I don't want to say it's a con, but as long as you're aware of that, of the house you're doing, I'm aware of it, of the house I'm doing. So I kind of know where my numbers are at, but I know what I can get out of the bank, right? And that's a game you learn how to play with the bank, right? And You're working with the bank, but also letting them come up with their own numbers. I can tell you what I think it's worth. Now it's time for you guys to tell me what you think it's worth, right? So And if you're playing a long game, if you're going to hold it for 10 years, okay, does it matter if the appraisal's 325 versus market value 300? No, it doesn't matter. I could care less, right? I know I'm getting a check, right? And so I can go use that money to go to another one, still get paid to own it, and have equity in it, right? So it is what it is. But at the end of the day, be aware of where those numbers are. Just don't be blind listening to the bank.
All right, let's talk triplex.
Triplex
what is the address?
1825 Mechanic Avenue.
Man, that is an avenue I've never heard of before.
Me neither.
Is that
Greater East Side, just off of White Bear. It's a short little block, dead end.
That's why.
Oh yeah, this might be the smallest
Street
in the Twin Cities. Okay. Talk about the east side of St. Paul for a minute. Tim used to live on the east side. It's very, what do we call it? Pockety, neighborhoody.
I guess it is pockety, yeah. What I used to tell people though, and this isn't probably, it still probably holds some truth, but I used to kind of refer, like, the worst areas of St. Paul are not like the worst areas of Minneapolis. They're much better, right? So if you take even just the really crime-ridden parts of East St. Paul are bad, but they're not incredibly bad.
Right.
You know, and I think Minneapolis in north has actually gotten quite a bit better. I have more concerns about areas of South Minneapolis now than north in terms of not wanting to be there as a landlord. I don't know. East St. Paul, what would I say? Typically low income. Not every area is low income, however. I live in a pocket that wasn't, but there's a lot of low income. What is it? I mean, I would say a lot of... in a lot of East St. Paul, especially like Dayton's Bluff and Payne-Phelan, you'll see a lot of houses that were really chopped up and in bad condition. Yeah. You know, that like where landlords abused them. I'm talking about like turning living rooms into bedrooms with no living room left. That kind of stuff where you look at a wall and you can see they didn't even bother taking the doorway out. They just sheetrocked in between and put a new door. So you've got a big door and then a smaller door. Yeah. Junk like that, right? Yeah. It's not like the whole place is that, but those are some of the things I think of. What about you?
On a lot of things you touched on there, it's very street by street, and I know that's kind of a blanket statement to say, but it really is. You know, even where this thing's at, it's super street by street. Mechanic itself, I own a property on Mechanic. That's not the best street, but I know exactly why it's not a good street. But if you go, you know, a couple blocks south, it gets to be a lot quieter of an area, right? A lot less foot traffic, a lot less.
Is there a bad apartment building on Mechanic or something like that?
Yeah, back behind it is there's a bunch of multifamily, right?
That are bad and then there's cheap
and I think you can go get a 1-bedroom apartment for $850 type spot, right? So, and then there's a railroad track that kind of goes back behind those apartments, and then there's a bridge, right? So all the people that want to walk out of those apartments and get up to White Bear Avenue to the bus stop or whatever they're doing, if you want to take the shortcut, you walk right in front of my house.
Sounds like a privacy fence type thing.
Yeah, a tall one.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about Mechanics. So it's a mid-century triplex. It's like a side-by-side, and then someone added a third unit to the basement?
Yeah, so what it is, and if you're on the street view or whatever, you can see there's 1, 2, 3 of them in a row. I have the middle one, and they're all kind of the same style. And it was a builder. After the whole project was done, I actually talked to the original owner's daughter, which was really cool. I've never had something like this. But how I got it, another wholesaler in town called me, weird deal. They were all pissed off saying this guy wanted too much money, da-da-da-da-da. And he's like telling me about the deal. And I'm like, wait a minute, that kind of sounds like a deal. I don't know why you're all ornery right now. And I want nothing to do with it. You take care of it. So I said, okay, give me his number, right? I get his number, call the guy up. We meet in person, build awesome rapport. And this was supposed to be this guy's retirement play. And it had said...
He built all three, you mean? That was his retirement play?
No. So what happened was he bought it back in, call it 2015. I think it sat vacant for 8 years. It was a Cat 2. He bought it in 2015. The guy that was living there bought it. When does it say that was built?
Give me a second.
68 maybe. Doesn't really matter. But the guy he bought it from the builder, right?
Okay.
Rented and it was built as a triplex, 3 2-bedroom units. Once you get the date, say he bought it in 1968, he rented out the 2 other units right away. They lived in there for a year till 1969, and then they moved out. He decided, I hate being a landlord. I'm never renting these out again. And he lived in one of the units until he died in 2015.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
And the whole rest of the house was a hoarder house. So it was all packed to the gills of stuff, right? So the dude dies. The guy I ultimately bought it off of was friends of the family. Once the dude died, he came over and was helping them junk out the house. Somehow in that very short period of time, the city realized what was going on inside the house, and they condemned it right after this guy bought it off the estate. So since dang near the day he bought it, it got condemned, and he never touched it for 8 years until it got to the point where the city starts threatening him, we're going to put it to Cat 3 status. It's going to get torn down if you don't do something by X date. Well, that was his flame under his rear end to get it sold, ultimately to me.
1962.
62, yeah. So then he bought it in 63, rented it out in 64, and nobody lived in either one of those units since 1964. Wow. And so
It's like a time capsule. I'd love to see the original.
Yeah, no kidding,
I mean,
man.
right? Because it deteriorated probably, but not,
I mean, the thing was cooked, right? It was toast. But what was really cool, so the guy's daughter, who grew up in one of the bedrooms in the unit, was still in contact with the guy that I bought it off of, and she came back after it was all fully rehabbed. It was like an episode of Dream Home Makeover, right? like move that bus, and she sees it, and they're crying. And it was because
If you want to send me a Google Drive of some before and after photos, I'll overlay them right now.
and if you look on, they're all on my Instagram, but
Nice.
Ford_Wagner. So. But that was really, I've never had, we've rehabbed tons of houses, but to have like an original owner come back that she grew up in this house, right? Or in this unit, to come back after all that time. And she's telling the stories of, my dad hoarded all this stuff in this corner, and my dad did this over here, and whatever. But back to the actual deal itself, I took notes on this because I knew we were going to talk about it. But
And I'm pulling pulling your Instagram up right now.
You can fact check me. I believe I paid $225 for it. I'm sure it says somewhere there.
You paid $236.
Oh, what the heck?
Yep, and you borrowed $332.
Man, you ripped yourself off.
So $236. Maybe my first offer was $225.
That might be.
$236. My rehab came in at $176.
Hold on. How far back do I need to go to find? God, where am I ever going to find this place?
It won't be on the MLS.
Oh, I see. No, hey, I got your Instagram up right now. Triplex is a go on Mechanic Ave. So we're walking into the basement, Ford. Oh, it's not a go. What are you talking about? You got drywall up.
The project's a go.
Oh, sure.
I got to see what picture you're
I
looking
got you.
at.
I know. We got to get that TV. I'll order the handyman today. Next time you're here, there's going to be a screen.
Gotcha.
So you buy it for $326.
$326. No, $226.
$226. I'm sorry.
$236, by the way.
$236.
Sorry, I was listening.
Final answer. $236. $176,000 rehab.
$390
Yeah, whatever that
or
is.
$400.
It's like $400, yeah.
And then I got after it was all done, got a $600,000 appraisal. And
It's so ridiculous.
a note. So then I got $80,000 or $480,000 loan. So if my calculations are right based off our previous correction, I got like $66,000 back.
Yeah, that sounds right.
So then,
How many bedrooms does this sucker have?
Yeah,
6.
No.
6.
So what I did, it was.
Oh, you added some?
Yeah. So
Okay.
it was 222, but then the basement was, and I don't know if I have my blueprints on there or not, but the basement was, well, upstairs. So the main level was a traditional, think of it as a side-by-side duplex, mirroring each other, right? Both 2 bedrooms. And then the basement, it was just one half of the basement was like a mirror image of the
One of
upstairs,
the-
right?
okay, all
So then I had a whole other half of the basement that was completely unutilized. It was just unfinished, empty, where basically they had a washer and a dryer sitting, right? So really what I did is I expanded over that whole basement, punched in 2 more bedrooms, put in 2 egress windows, put in a hallway, framed out a full common utility room with a washer, dryer.
Washer, dryer, yeah.
And then had another entrance put in off the side for the common area entrance off the parking pad in the back. So it made it a 4-1 and then 2 2-1s.
Yeah, gotcha.
Right? And then if my memory serves me right, I'd have to look on.
That's why it was all 176, because you spent quite a bit on the basement, right?
Yeah, that, and I mean, it was a Cat 2, so everything's getting done, right?
suppose.
Plumbing, electric,
Yeah, just so everyone knows, Cat 2s, the city is all up on your, you know what, with inspections. They're inspecting everything.
Mm-hmm.
In certain order, too, right? Don't they require you get, like, electrical and plumbing and stuff like that done first, or?
Not so much in a certain order. I mean, it's still the same quote unquote process as we would on something that wasn't tagged. We call it being tagged.
I suppose. Yeah, you just gotta wait. You gotta wait on their inspections till you can do the next thing. That's what I'm thinking. Like,
Yeah, so
everything
you're
feels
rough.
very ordered in those because you're just waiting forever for them to come back and look at something and okay it.
You're on city time,
Yeah.
which they take their sweet time. Especially this was
Especially
during
St. Paul Cat 2, I think.
well, and
I feel like
especially when their system was hacked the whole time. I'm doing this when their whole system was down, so that was a whole other element. But yeah, really, and then just to expand with Tim on a category 2 home, basically what happens there is it gets identified or tagged by the city for a variety of reasons as a vacant building, a building that should be condemned, unlivable, whatever, and they strip the certificate of occupancy. And how you get that certificate of occupancy back is every trades inspector plus the fire inspector comes out and does a full inspection of the property, and they call out every single item that's not up to code, right? It doesn't matter that the building was built in 72 or whatever, 62. They want 2026's code, right? So it can seem a little ridiculous or aggressive of some of the stuff they're making you do, but that's just the name of the game in the process, right? So fireproofing, all the way down to your pipe size and your venting, right, to your electrical standards.
Yeah, I mean, electrical, that's where I complain about the electrical, the electrical disconnects on the outside of a house. East St. Paul house, like we're the only one in East St. Paul with electrical disconnect. That kind of thing, right?
I had to do that. Yeah, that was a $30,000 tab.
Yeah, I was just saying, for us it was 19, but we probably didn't have, different situation, but like $19,000 for what? So
crazy. And I it to make your brain blow.
Yeah.
Because then I finally asked the, Excel's got to come out and they got to do their thing, and you got to pay them to show up. And I'm like, so can I just ask why? Why do I have to do this? Right?
Yeah.
He goes, well, we just, in case we want to come look at the meter, we don't want to have to call your tenant to get access inside. So, well, that kind of sounds like a personal problem, like that. But I'm going to pay for it. So because you don't want to have to call my tenant to schedule a time to go inside the building. If you want to come look at the meter, I have to pay $30,000.
If I want to make you feel bad, so you have to pay $210 a month for the rest of your frickin' life, so that they don't have to call your tenant.
For the
That's
access.
the 30,000 times 7, and yeah. But,
So we did a whole, basically down to I'm not going to say the whole thing went down to the studs. The basement certainly should have. We tried to I don't want to say cut corners. We tried to save money by not completely gutting the basement, which we ended up having to skim all this plaster. And so it ended up being way more expensive. We should have just completely gutted it. And then we ended up chopping because we had to replace all the baseboard and rerun the boiler lines, move the meters outside,
when you say chopping, what do you, can you tell me what you mean by that?
Yeah, so it was like it's on boiler heat, right? Okay. So with all baseboards, but the only thing we were able to think of in our brains is at some point the lines that were all under the poured foundation had froze at some point. Oh. So their way of fixing it was taking PEX and like building a roller coaster all around the downstairs, right? Well, none of that's to code, and I don't know the exact code, but you can only have so many turns in your lines. A. B, it looks like crap because you have PEX running all over your walls, right? So all that had to be torn out. We had to chop up the foundation.
Gotcha.
Run new lines, re-pour. While we were doing all that, we put in a full drain tile system around.
When I hear that, my brain goes to, why didn't you just turn it to HVAC? Why didn't you go to hot forced air instead?
It was
because you already have the walls open, so running the vents is not that expensive, right?
It was just a cost analysis. I mean, that was on the table.
It didn't make sense, huh?
Right. It was cheaper to go, I don't know at this point, since I had to pay for a new boiler. It probably would have. And I would have rather have it be on forced air, honestly. But because I asked my HVAC guy, okay, give me a bid to outfit this whole place. I want 3 furnaces. Because right now, it's all on the same gas, obviously, because there's only one boiler. But,
right. That's what I'm thinking all these things myself, yeah.
So yeah, we did all that, and but that one that was my first BRRRR, my first condemned property that I did by myself. Obviously, if you listen to the other podcast, I talked about how I did another one with
Rashad.
With Rashad Kennedy. But so that was just a crazy learning curve. I mean, there was so much I learned there, just on really true construction processes. Another thing I touched on before, right? You can kind of figure out your processes on a cosmetic flip, right? It's a whole nother thing when we're bringing in hardcore trade activities in every element and keeping everybody in line.
Yeah.
Are you the general on that technically?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So and that's with the CAT 2, you don't have to be a general contractor, but you have to have a general contractor that puts in the scope of work. You have to show proof of funds to do it. There's a whole demand list they have. But
you have a contractor's license.
Yep.
And your name was on the permit for this build on the general.
Yep.
Got it.
Yep.
Yeah. But to your point, like, even when you figured out your scope of work, as they were inspecting, they were giving you things to do, right? You didn't come in with that $30,000 electrical disconnects when you started the project, I'm guessing. Right?
No, I did.
Oh, you did?
That was all underwritten.
Okay, you did it.
My
Did they make you do things you weren't expecting? I got to think they made you do something.
You had some coaching, somebody who's been through it before, I'm guessing.
A little.
Because how else would you know for that specifically?
The electric?
Right.
Because it was called out on my code compliance report.
Okay.
Because, like I said, you have to get that report done, and I'm not lying. They're going to give you a packet, right, with, I forget how many problems there were. It was like 90 or 110 or some crazy number of every code violation.
Did you get the packet before you closed?
You have to have it.
Before you bought the property?
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Well, that's cool.
So you have that, right? And so then I'm bringing my subs in. Here's the packet, fix the problem, right? So go through, know every problem we got to take care of. Similar process to how I do other ones, but now it's actually in writing. Here's what the city's going to make you do. We need all that, plus how I already do properties. Give me a price. Next guy, give me a price. Here's all the problems. Go down the line, right? Now, there were, in any project, there's stuff that starts coming up. Like drain tile, we didn't plan on doing that until we started noticing water issues early on, talking to the neighbors about how they've had water issues. Okay, we got to get, a plan for that, right? There was some, we ended up doing a lot more concrete work on the exterior sidewalks and stuff like that. That wasn't really, we knew we were going to do a little bit. But at a certain point, you're there, it's sunny out, and you're like, actually, I want this sidewalk to look really nice and new. Let's just do the whole thing, right? So stuff like that. So I knew we were going to go over budget at a certain point. You kind of accept that, but I knew based on where I thought the whole project was going to end up, we had room to play.
Which it sounds like you did.
Yeah.
So if I want to go shopping for Cat 2 properties today in St. Paul, there's still an owner. You still have to connect with the owner themselves, right? It's not like a city-owned thing.
No.
Is there a list?
Yeah, so if anybody can look this up, just Google the St. Paul vacant housing list, and there's a list of 600 properties. I will say it's not the most updated list. It's very actually outdated. So it's just a numbers game.
You used to just call on those, right? Because I remember you saying, when we were talking about Rashad's property, you made that one happen just by going, I'm going to go find a property. Right?
Yeah, that was how
attacking that list.
Yeah, we just skip trace, because it'll give you the address, a couple other things, but it won't give you the owner. So take the address, put it in the tax records, find their name, go to True People Search, get their numbers, psychodial 10 numbers to find the right one. Leave the voicemail, they call you back, call them 6 more times. It's just a numbers game. So, but with that, and then that too, because St. Paul, with them getting hacked and everything, like they haven't updated that in months. So if you're on it right now, you can search by like date. It's kind of weird how it sorts, but when the system was live and working correctly, I mean, it'd be like every week there'd be new properties added to this, right? But that's how you find it.
Yeah, if you guys don't know, St. Paul got hacked by I don't know if they found out who did it, but they tried to blackmail them, right? And
so they quickly shut their system. They were planning to bring on a new system, and they just forwarded it. This new is Poly is the new system, right? Is that what they call it?
Yeah, I was gonna say Dolly, but that's not. That's
it's
Department
Poly,
of Labor,
right?
Poly.
And so they basically Poly was already planned coming on. They were developing it, and I think it was it was not supposed to come on anytime soon, right? Like this was, and they just said, okay, we're shutting the old system down. Mm-hmm. We're gonna go with nothing for a little while, and we're gonna bring Poly on as soon as we can. Mm-hmm. And so right now, if you were to put a new application system, it goes into Poly, but all their history is kind of like lost. Yeah. It's all like paper and weird, and they can't really search it the same way.
And I'm just shaking my head in agreement with you, because you go down to the inspector's office and it's like it's on fire. Nobody has any idea of what's going on. Which, whatever, I don't know how you battle that problem of getting hacked, but
I'll tell you what, as a buyer, if you're looking for like turnkey multifamily or turnkey housing, a formerly Cat 2 is not the worst idea in the world.
Everything's been inspected. Yeah.
Well, Tim and I have a mutual client right now who's closing on Friday. Really beautiful duplex in Merriam Park. Dude, this guy had to do everything. Mm-hmm. Guarantee he wasn't planning on it. Contrast that with a triplex in the same neighborhood, sold for a similar amount, which was, I didn't represent the buyer, but now I'm helping with management. And oh my gosh, we had a plumber come through because one of the drains was backed up, and you got the kitchen here, you got a bathroom here, basement, 1-bedroom apartment. He snakes down, both sinks are backed up in the bathroom and the kitchen. The snake goes down and it comes right up through the other sink. Right?
It's like a cartoon.
It's like
you. Yeah. And so we get the plumber, and he's like, yeah, they put a T in when it's supposed to be a Y, and they put it on backwards, and like, oh my gosh. I mean, buying a place that has had an extensive uninspected renovation recently can be a complete shit show.
Oh, it was recent, huh? Recent renovation?
Yeah. Like somebody bought it. I think a wholesaler bought it, put some lipstick on it, sold it to someone else's client. I got a notice today that like, oh my gosh, it's not even, there's still open permits on the addition of the third unit, So just buyer beware out there.
It's a third unit?
Yeah.
Is it
it's
legal?
A third basement unit.
Is it illegal?
I don't know.
Okay.
I mean, based on the letter that the tenant got today, it seems like it's not quite legal, which is a surprise to me. Again, not my client, didn't represent them on the sale. Make that very clear.
I end up giving a lot of people bad news on that. They come to me, they're like, I got a triplex. And I look at it, I'm like, it looks like a duplex to me. Are you sure it's a triplex? Oh, yeah. I'm like, well, is it a legal triplex? No, but it's a triplex. I'm like, well, you got some news for you. Like, you can operate it this way if you want, and I'm not the police, and I'm not going to tell you not to, but yeah, it's not perfect. It's not what you think it is,
And there's a lot of that in South St. Paul. Have you guys...
Oh my gosh, it's the capital of the non-conforming. South St. Paul and like Uptown.
Yeah.
But they're everywhere.
But
South St. Paul seems like they don't really give a shit, because the stuff that passes as units there is wild. Yeah. Like they kind of like, there'll be a boiler pipe at 6 feet, and it's it's a legal unit. Yeah.
But to your point too, like with buying for like say an end user looking for turnkey, condemned houses, the people flipping those, so if you look at like where's my competition on the flipping side, you get a cosmetic, there's a ton of people, whether they're the weekend warrior, handyman special, whatever it might be, somebody trying to make a quick buck, cool. But there's a lot of guys there, right? When you get into these Cat 2s, Cat 2s, and certainly Cat 3s, there's a lot less guys doing them, and they generally have a lot more experience.
Yeah.
And they're under a crap ton more scrutiny from the city to make sure stuff's done the right way.
Exactly.
So for your point, and generally in anything Cat 2, certainly Cat 3, all your utilities have, if not been completely replaced, majorly replaced.
Yeah.
Majorly.
Majorly.
Majorly. No,
no,
not major.
The majority. Of them. It's just
There's not a word.
The
this
wrong
word doesn't
context.
exist.
Yeah, that's not a.
What's the difference?
That is real estate investing vocabulary. Is what that is.
Yes.
What's the difference between Cat 2 and Cat 3?
Why they get placed there is I haven't solved that one yet. But the biggest difference on your end of the table is the city will not let title transfer until the certificate of occupancy is given back. Right. Until the project's done on a 3.
Interesting. Do you have to escrow for it too?
Well, there's
is there an escrow option
where it creates a massive I've never done one, so I don't. That's a little bit more specific than I have an answer for. But where it becomes a very big issue is if you own a house that's a Cat 3 and I want to buy it, well, I can't go get funding on it because a lender's not going to let me buy it if I don't have title, because then they can't secure their position through me.
It's kind of, they shouldn't have Cat 3. Cat 3 is supposed to be a stick, but the problem is if the person can't afford and won't do a remodel, turning it to a Cat 3 doesn't make it any better. It only makes it worse, right? Yeah. Cat 2 is good enough. They don't need Cat 3.
And I really probably...
Because they're the same properties. It's just what you're allowed to do with
it. Seems as though, basic Google search, Cat 3 is just much more severe to the point where they're unsafe, hazardous, whereas Cat 2, multiple violations.
And where maybe in the governmental process is kind of their last process before they tear it down, right? They're going to put it to a 3 and then they're going to go tear the building down and assess you for the whole damn thing for the life.
Sure.
Throw it on the lot, right? So I think that's just kind of the city's final stage, or maybe final warning call to the owner saying, hey, we're at our last straw. Now you have 30 days or we're coming in with the bulldozer. And they do that. So yeah, that was really that whole project. That was an awesome project. I got it all leased up. Like I said, 2 weeks in, we had the thing flood out. But so my rent roll there, I got for the 2s, I got 1625, and then 2300, but I give them a $50 credit to do snow and mow the lawn. So
3255-ish, 5600.
Well, yeah, it was like 5600. Is that right?
And what's your payment on because you were able to borrow
480 G's.
Hell yeah. Dude, that rules. That's another wildly inaccurate appraisal, probably. But
so here, what's your opinion on the 1% rule nowadays?
I almost think it's a necessity.
Yeah.
But as far as when you're seeing stuff trade,
it depends.
You see a lot of stuff trade at 1%.
Right. Yeah. So look at that. Now you're at 560,000.
But the 1% rule doesn't guarantee value at all. It's almost just like a minimum if you're buying small multifamily in the
to
Twin
get
Cities.
it to cash flow, to get it to work, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't necessarily, but I remember like back during COVID, you couldn't even find anything at the 1% rule anymore.
Right, because interest rates were 3%.
Were nothing.
Yeah.
So now it's kind of the pendulum has swung backwards, and what's its true value? I don't know. But to answer your question, I can look on my.
But it's sweet. I'd take an overvalued appraisal every day of the week.
For what I like to say about rules in general is they should only be used lightly. They work in certain circumstances and not others. Mm-hmm. So if you live by a rule, you can get in a lot of trouble. But if you use it as a quick gauge, so it's your napkin math, it's great, right? Yeah. Like if I'm looking at a project and it doesn't hit the 1% rule, I go, okay, well, it's not going to be a rental. Is there another opportunity here, or should I walk? Right? Yeah. So it's quick and easy for that, right?
And I'd say single family is an exception. If for single family investing, I'm all about just like, what are my costs, and then what is the end value? Yeah. That's where I'm making the majority.
You're building wealth.
I'm trying to build wealth. Yeah. But it's still, it's got to sustain itself. So I will frequently I don't know, let's take this one for example. I'll be like 325 into a property that's now worth 415, and if I can get 2,500 in rent, I'm golden. So that's far below 1%.
Right.
But if I was only looking at 1% deals, I would miss
those
opportunities
yes.
to make $85,000 in wealth, and that's
Yes.
the point.
But there we go. So you're looking at it and you're saying, okay, it's not a 1% rule, but there's another way to make money, right? And that's what I mean by like not living and dying by any one rule. But
Yeah.
But in multifamily, basically a necessity.
yeah.
And so, like, kind of talking about that appraisal, I knew where I wanted it to appraise and where I needed to appraise. And with the lender I was using, they let me pick my appraiser. I didn't know them. It was actually referred from another contact in town who's a hard money lender.
Sure.
Who they use for all their stuff. And then the bank still had to vet them or whatever. But I brought this appraiser to the bank. I had never known him. It wasn't my father. But it was just having a conversation with him. I'm like, hey, if you pull triplex comps around town, we can all see where the value is probably to come in, but they're also not good comps. They don't have the bedroom count I have, and they haven't been updated in 45 years, right? So it's kind of an anomaly property. I kind of need us to do like obviously it's residential, but I need you to kind of put on a commercial underwriting lens right now, and like let's look at the financials as well. So even at 600, giving me the debt I was trying to get on it, it still had a very healthy balance sheet, which he was very comfortable approving it for that amount, if that makes sense.
Definitely, yeah.
So that was just kind of the conversation, with the bank really having that conversation, and then ultimately with the appraiser really having that conversation, meeting the appraiser at the property, sending them the list of $176,000 of improvements I just put into this. Here's what they're renting for, the whole 9 yards.
This happens because you know what you're doing and you're using the right type of financing. I have a lot of people come to me like that. They try to use the same argument, but they want a conventional loan. It's like Fannie Mae doesn't give a shit about your opinion. Like, sorry, that doesn't work in that situation. It worked in yours, but you asked for the right loan, right? You weren't trying to pound a square peg in a round hole.
Correct.
All right. So if you don't mind, Ford, let's just run through. We don't have to talk specific addresses, but you bought a handful of properties on contract for deed?
Yeah, so one on Forest, one on Minnehaha, one North St. Paul that got raided this morning, one up in Hugo.
So a couple in the east side of St. Paul.
East side.
Okay.
One
Duplexes or single families?
All single family, one townhome.
And are you putting cash down on these properties, or how are you buying them?
Yeah, there was a little bit of cash down. It was not even 10%.
Okay.
So they were small.
And the same seller for all of them?
For half.
Okay.
For 3. And then one was through another guy who actually I'm doing another project with right now, which I'll round all this out with. But so I bought all those. In the midst of buying one of those, I bought the neighbor's house off of one of those properties. That was a really weird deal that I ended up getting a really good deal with on, because they were trying to sell, and there was a big title issue where it really limited their marketability of the home, and the only person who'd want to buy this house because of the title issue would be the next door neighbor.
Yeah.
So
was it like an addition or a garage that was like built on their property, or vice versa?
A shared driveway with an easement or agreement that was never recorded.
Okay.
And the only access to their garage was through my driveway.
So in a normal situation with like a third party, you just have to get the neighbor to sign off on it, probably. I think we've dealt with that before.
Yeah, and it was a weird situation. This could turn into a 10-minute conversation, but it was.
It probably should. Yeah.
It should. I wouldn't go into it. I know we're trying to wrap up, but it was a weird deal where they wanted. Yeah, they're trying to sell their house. I had already walked through because I knew they were trying to sell. Right? They told me some pie in the sky number that I would never pay. I said no, I'm good. A month later, they call me saying, "Hey, we're trying to list the house now, and we had the title company just make sure we had the easement for the driveway, and there's no easement. Do you have any documentation?" I said, "No." Call your title company, or no, we already did. So I was like, okay, let me call mine and pull title on both properties. There is nothing, right? So then so I call her back, tell her that, and I'm dealing with the daughter because the parents didn't speak English or whatever. So I'm dealing with the daughter on this, and I said, well, there's no easement. I don't know what to tell you. And legally, So what that meant legally, they had no access to their own garage. They had no access to off-street parking because they had to use my driveway, which is 100% on my property. And so she goes, okay, well, can we just meet up and have you sign an easement? I said, well, it's not just as simple as me just signing an easement. Generally, there's a fee involved with that, right? So but I don't know. I've never dealt with this. So I go consult with a couple people I know around town.
And you're like smelling leverage. Like,
so, sounds like 10 grand to me, you know?
But what is the number, right? Is it 5? Is it 10? Is it 40?
Because it's a lifetime thing, and it affects your marketability on some level. So, like, you need to be compensated, right?
Yeah.
That's why I said feels like 10, even though, like, them using it probably doesn't bother you that much, but you have to keep it clear. They're not keeping the driveway clear, right?
No, I have to.
So you've got to keep it clear for the
clear.
rest of eternity, you or whoever you sell it to.
Right.
Someone's gonna be driving through, which means you can't just park and leave a car in the middle, right? You know, right? So there's some considerations there.
If they're hooping it up, drinking for the Super Bowl, and somebody cracks their head in my driveway without there's no legal language to say what happens, I'm technically responsible. So it's a big problem not having one.
Yes.
Right. So getting to the value, it's like, okay, well, what do they want? What's the house worth with the easement? Is it 200 grand, right? Just to throw out numbers. Without that easement, to sell a house on a main corridor with no on-street parking, no access to a garage, well, that limits your buyer pool down to the next door neighbor, right? Or maybe one other person who never leaves their house and doesn't have a car. And so does that make the house worth 120 grand? Well, if it does, in my mind, then that easement's worth 80 grand. It's worth the difference, right?
Sure.
Did I ask her for 80? No, but it was a lot more than 10. And she just about fell out of her chair. And I said, I even forget what the number was, but I said, here's what you can pay me, or I'll just buy the house for, I think I paid 130 grand for it, 135. And they decided to take that offer because then they're threatening to sue me and all this crap. And I'm going to take it to court, right? What are you going to do? We can go waste time.
Tim, we're going to start a fund. We're going to find houses with shared driveways, okay? We're going to do title searches.
That was my idea.
Make sure there's no easements. We're going to raise money.
There's a guy on social media down in Texas that's his whole business. He looks for landlocked land, and then he sues the people around it to get access into it. And he does it successfully and makes a killing. And he sells some course. You know, you can buy anything these days. But
this is one of the reasons why
that guy sounds like a dick. I think our idea is cool though.
Sometimes this stuff comes up, and this is one of the reasons you need title insurance when people are ever wondering. That would be a reason.
Yeah.
Because actually, after the fact, they could probably go back to their title insurance and get some money.
Yeah.
Potentially.
And
right.
And that was part of the conversation. But ultimately, the title company had gone on a business that they closed with, which you can still go after the underwriter.
Yes.
They didn't end up taking it that far. They just let settle and hash it out. Moral of the story, that was another property I picked up. I had another one I did a weird structure on up in Columbus by Running Aces Casino. A property on some land that'll be a future development play. I have accidental townhome rental that we flipped that we couldn't get rid of that got sold on. We sold it on terms over in Brooklyn Center.
Contract for deed, or how'd you structure it?
Rent to own.
Yep. In Minnesota, that's typically better now.
Yeah, with all the crazy contract for deed law, that's changed.
Yeah.
And then the North Minneapolis 2 we already talked about. That'll be BRRRR's. And then I have in Oakdale. If you know where Platinum Bank is in Oakdale, kind of
exactly
right by the IHOP there, right across the street. There's is it 8 acres?
Up the hill or no?
Literally the woods surrounding
across the other
bank.
way. Oh, okay.
Yeah, so if you see the bank on the corner, it's the woods all up behind it.
Oh, okay.
Right. There's a house on it currently. You'll see it on my Instagram. That we're remodeling. We'll keep that, and then we're building 2 houses on each side of the house.
Here's your infill stuff, huh? This
Yes.
is where this all comes into play.
We're going right back in after I told everybody not to do this. So we're going to do that, and we're going to keep everything. So that'll be a build for rent community. So that'll be 5 more. That'll come into the portfolio. So that's the laundry list. I'm trying to think if I touched on everything there.
So what are we up to now? 16 doors?
That's if I'm including the one I bought today and the one in Brooklyn Center at 16. Not incling Oakdale
Not including
stuff.
the new construction that
Yeah,
you're
not
going to do
including
later.
any of that.
Which
And when did
probably
you
should.
start? You're 27 now. When did you buy the first one?
21, 22, 21 or 22.
And then how long in between the first deal and the second? approximately, dude? I'm just trying to get a sense. I'm looking for a tagline here, you know?
It's like 2.5 years.
Okay. So you essentially bought 14 doors in a 3-year period. In a 2-year period.
Well, and that might not all add up, but it was really, I started going strong on the buy and holds, not this summer, but the summer before.
Yeah.
So really 2 years.
Coming up on 2 years.
2.5 years.
Sweet.
But you have all the confidence.
Our thumbnail.
You have all the confidence you can solve the problems. I mean, that's part of it is people walk in and they don't know how to solve the problem because they don't even know what contractor to call first, right? And so part of this is just having the knowledge I know that there's problems, whether it be easement, you know stuff through your dad, whether it be other things, you know how to solve problems now or who to call, right?
And for, is it Brandon Turner, Bigger Pockets guy,
Yeah.
He would always say it in investing, you got to build the tool belt, right? And that's so true. You need your title company, you need your contractors, you need an attorney, you need good realtors to lean on, you need good bank connections or loan officers to lean on. It's a whole team sport, and it takes a long time to really put that together, A, and B, to even realize what and who you really need. What type of bank do you need, right? Because U.S. Bank, nothing against them, but that's not your bank for stuff like this, right?
Yeah.
Roto-Rooter's not your plumber for stuff like this, right?
Yeah.
So it's just building out that team, to your point, exactly.
Dude, and you're 27, and I'm sure you won't do this, but even if you just kept the strategy, bought for another many years, all these houses getting paid off in your 50s, even if you were just to adopt the most simple set it and forget it strategy, you're a worker. You're not looking to retire early. There's no way you would do that. You're going to be in your truck doing projects probably for a long time. Tell me if I'm wrong.
Well, every Friday by 4 o'clock, it is on my mind to retire. But by Monday morning, I'm back ready to go.
Yeah. But that's the irony. All of us who are out here grinding, I was one of these retire early guys for a long time. That's what got me into real estate. And then eventually I just realized I
like it.
Work is my favorite thing.
Yeah.
Besides being a dad, it's being a dad and then work. But anyways, this amount of long-term debt secured at your age is freaking phenomenal.
Yeah. And it's just a big game at the end of the day, and it's the best game in the world. Or the sport. It's the best sport I've ever played. And if you get good at it and you get your groove, you never want to stop playing. You never want to retire, right? You just want to keep playing the game. So that's how we do it. Bring me a deal.
Awesome. Thank you, Ford, for doing this again, dude. You're a great dude. We'll see you in 2 weeks?
If we're ready to come back, we can talk about something.
All right.
All right. See you later, brother.
Bye, Ford. Hey, man. How's it going?
It's going fine. What's going on today in the real estate world, man? We were just talking about how this spring is going to be, as far as transactions go and investor clients go, I think we're going to have a very active. And by the way, if you're in Minnesota real estate, you refer to January as spring. At least I do. I mean, post Super Bowl is definitely spring.
Post Super Bowl for sure. Yeah, we start getting busy as loan officers a lot of times in February so that people can buy in March. Right?
Yeah,
that's kind of what happens. But I'm seeing plenty of business. It slowed down some for the holidays, no question, but not as much as I'm used to. There was more activity even over Christmas time, and certainly has been quite a bit of activity the first week of January.
Yeah, I had my fourth quarter of 2025 was almost my best. It was my second best quarter of the year. Usually it's the worst. And I've heard a lot of other agents echo that. So if you're listening to this and you're not an agent, why do I care? Well, it generally means that median price point is on its way up. Lots of activity. And so yeah, I'm trying to, I've got this Pinehurst deal, painting. I think I told you there's a slanted floor on the porch. I'm having that all leveled. I've got a great hardwood floor deal. If anybody listening wants to do hardwood, I think I'm only paying with leveling $2,300, and I'm getting solid, just the stuff that's in this room basically.
Yeah.
On I don't know, 600 square feet of the rear of the home. I got a tenant lined up who
already, huh?
Well, a woman who lives in a home where a client of mine's home. He is moving his dad in.
Okay.
And I'm trying to decide right now. She won't really be able to move in until March. But what the heck? I mean, the project's not going to get done until February anyways. And I'm going to give her a little bit of a break on rent. But don't you think there is there is it's hard to quantify, but there is value in a tenant who you already know is awesome. And that value could be quantified at like at least a couple $100 a month.
It could be, yeah. Especially if you're talking about also saving a month's rent. Because it sounds to me like a project being done doesn't mean you rent it immediately.
100%.
Right? I mean, it can. Like I always suggest that people try to rent while they're doing the remodel, not wait until the end.
Yeah,
but
especially with AI now.
Yeah, but that's different in June compared to February, right? So like there's just like you could list it today and not even have anyone call you for 2 months because it's just they're not looking, at least not the good ones, you know?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I'm showing her the place on Saturday. And you know what? She can pick out the paint color if she wants to commit. So that's cool. As long as it's an off-white. But yeah, Ford is a great guest. He's obviously going to be a regular on the show. Who else should we bring back? I was texting with Tyler Nash. Tyler Nash, who is now a Real agent.
Yeah.
Tyler and I have started a little thing at Real. So I was texting with him this morning about how Ford's coming back. We got to have Tyler back for round 3. Who else would be good?
He's a good follow on social media. He does a lot of tip stuff, right? Landlord tip stuff and things like that. Bring back, I think Tanya Rooney's always interesting. She's always got good stuff going on, so I think she'd be a good one.
Short-term rental Tanya.
The first thing that comes to mind. Yeah, that's the only one that like popped in my head right now.
She's buying a house right next to my Pinehurst place.
Is she? Mm-hmm. The other one would be if Corey. He's so dang busy that I wonder if we can get him again. But
Corey Wright. Yeah,
he's got so many cool things going on. He'd be a fun one to catch up with already. Like since our show, he's probably done 20 or more deals, right? Maybe even more, maybe 30. So and he's got his big legacy wealth group going on. So that'd be a fun one. I've got some people that I want to have on. We keep talking about Rashad, so I texted him while in between. So we'll see if we can get Rashad on. There's a few others, so I think we can get some good guests. But I'd like more ideas. If people have ideas, we should please reach out.
Yeah. Let us know if there's someone who you want to see on the podcast. Also, let us know. A lot of you guys were fans of like the data deep dives we did last year. We did at St. Paul, Minneapolis, and then I think we did a suburban one as well. Yep. What do you want us to like nerd out about?
Well, I think we need to do that again. I think that should be a yearly thing.
Okay,
where we're doing like one a month for the next couple months.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
We did them this time of the year too, kind of. One of them we did late last fall, and then we went like February and March or February and April, something like that.
Yeah, that sounds right. So if there's any other subjects you guys want us to cover, let us know. Look for those updates coming.
I mean, to me, that's interesting. And then we can also see how does it compare one year to the next.
Right. Yep.
Yeah. I definitely want to start with St. Paul again because I remember Minneapolis being so difficult to do. So let's do St. Paul again to get in the groove.
Sure.
And we can tackle Minneapolis second.
Yeah. Well, it'll be easier too because a lot of the appreciation, we just have to add a year to it.
That, and I want to figure out how the neighborhood thing for Minneapolis. This is just too challenging. There's just too many neighborhoods. I almost feel like we have to break that down into bigger chunks or something.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thanks for listening, guys. Thanks to Network Title. Thanks to RPM Viking, and thanks to Shook Rentals for being sponsors. Yeah. All of our sponsors will give you a deal. All of our sponsors do good work, and that's why, and we personally work with them, so that's why they're sponsors. And yeah, that's it. Like, subscribe, follow, all the stuff. See ya.
Bye.
That's it for today's show. You can visit the Twin Cities Real Estate Investing.com website for show notes, tips, tricks, and other local real estate investing information. Adam and Tim would like to meet with you. To schedule a one-on-one meeting with either Adam or Tim, go to TwinCitiesRealEstateInvesting.com/schedule.